start recording this right now, and it'll be available in the customer community later. So I'll cover the easy enhancements first, and those are a couple of new reports. Okay, so what some of you may have noticed, maybe about a month or so ago, we went ahead and we changed the sales by item to call it sales by category. We wrote in here that this was formerly sales by item. And because we knew that we were releasing a new sales by item report, which has much more granularity and I think useful information for clinics. So quick review there, sales by category. Let me get a bigger date range here. Sorry about that. And so the nice thing is, one is we can just display it by all categories or just certain ones. And something else you'll notice in this, so we have the summary here of all sales by category, right? Total net sales. You'll also notice that the reports now are going to include information about returns, because we've had clinics, mention, hey, return data. It would be available in one report, but then you'd have to combine multiple reports to get return data with sales data, and trying to make your life a little easier. Now we've added that. That'll be in all our reports now. Financial inventory type reports will also have returns in there. Okay, and so this just breaks down everything by category, okay, which is of course, useful. And then it will break down the number of sales in a given month too, right? I love, by the way, demo accounts. Power mushrooms. I'm not even going to ask. And as you can see, it combines, right, the individual sales, but then groups them into categories, right, with a summary at the very top. Okay, and so pretty straightforward there. Now we added this second report, sales by item, which is what used to be kind of the old report, but it's enhanced to also include, right, let me get again, larger date range. Let's go to May 1st. And this report, right, so here we have all the boom, boom, boom. Here's what's interesting, right? So here you have all the individual items, boom, boom, boom. You're going to have returns here also, net sales, tax. But it breaks it down by client and invoice. Now, I will give a shout out to Chattanooga Veterinary. I hope you guys are on. But Chattanooga brought up an interesting thing a few months ago, that especially when you guys are dealing with rebates, right? It's a lot of times, buy one heartworm, get one free, right? And the way clinics would, a lot of times handle the rebates is that you would submit the sales information, right, to the drug manufacturer or the distributor, and they would then credit your account. And it wasn't easy to do in Vetter. Yes, there was a sales history under each item in inventory, but it wasn't manageable by date ranges. And now here you have this. So I can find out now what any client, any item that was bought by any client for any date range. And this, especially for larger clinics that deal with rebates, in the past, you'd have to issue a credit or do some kind of, I would say, creative accounting in Vetter. And now, hopefully, this process will be a lot easier. I'm going to pause really quickly to see if there's any questions. I imagine this is straightforward. Okay, good. And so that covers the reports here. Now, some other, and I'm going to come then right to the new record dialogue and the reminders and inventory for separate items. I'm going to cover that towards the end, just cover the easy ones first here. We also, you may have noticed, we also created a default reminder, and this was just the other day for clients. So what's happening was as follows. If a client, sometimes clinics, because of human error, and this actually happens a fair amount of time, entering a new client, right? Staff member might forget to put down, right, or they might forget to put down the reminder choice. They would just enter, right, all the phone number, address, all these things. And so the software then, right, it didn't know what was happening. And it would say, hey, client opted out type thing. And so what we did is we went ahead, and now if there is, right, available information and what have you, and I'm using an old account to kind of show you what happened there, right? If you would say client opted out, and all of a sudden the client wouldn't get a reminder. You guys would call us and say, hey, Homer didn't get a reminder, but we have his email. And I'm using an old account there to show you how it used to be. Now, what happens is if there is any of this information available, right, Vetter is going to go ahead and say, well, we have an email address for the guy. We're going to default to email, right? It won't default to texting unless you have that texting service turned on in settings, right? Because it costs 5 cents a message, and we're not going to bill you for something that you haven't agreed to. But so it's going to opt into information that's available, always choosing email first, so you don't have that client opted out feature. And many of you may not have noticed that, but it's just kind of a little safeguard we've put in there, right, to just prevent the mystery reminder or that mystery client opting out issue from happening. Okay. Then we went ahead, and in billing, we added the ability to open invoices. Now, many of you probably don't know this, but the single biggest support issue we received every day was to open an invoice. Kid you, so you guys mark an invoice as paid, you close it, and then there's something wonky happened, the accounting was wrong, the client comes back in, there's a million different variables, and there was no way to open an invoice by the clinic itself. And so we went ahead, right, and added this feature so that you can manage your own invoices easier. And so what happened is that many people then wrote in and said, hey, I don't see the mark as paid button, okay? Well, the way the engineering and the product design worked is it's all under edit invoice, right? So if I need to, right, come here, this invoice is open. And so you can't mark it as paid yet. That was basically for $0 invoices. Sorry, let me grab a paid invoice and show you what I mean. And so this has ended up being a big kind of boon, I think, to all of us, because it meant less support calls for this very issue. And if you notice here, status, it's paid. If I need to open it, I just mark open. If I want to lock the invoice, I can do this too, right? And there's a $0 invoice, you could then mark this as paid also, okay? And so people were asking us what happened to that button. It's all right there. Now, that said, okay, the ability to open invoices, mark them as paid, and especially $0 invoices, that is an area that is rife for, how shall I say this, malevolent exploitation by an employee who's less than dedicated to your clinic's success. And you can read in between the lines there as I say that. And so we also implemented a permissions-based feature that goes with this, because we had a number of clinics call back and say, hey, I can't mark the invoice as paid or even open or locked or what have you. Well, unless they were an admin, I was going to show everybody this under permissions. Unless they were an admin, usually they were just regular staff, they may not have had that permission. And we went ahead and added that in there as an extra security feature right there. And where it says invoices, right, what they can and can't do. Notice can edit invoice status. We did not make that a default. I'm always sorry to repeat the stories, but we get at least once a month. We have a clinic asking us to do some forensic, engineering and accounting, right? Unfortunately, because there's fraud inside the clinic. And so bit by bit, we try to add more features that give you more control over your practice. Okay, so that's the invoice status right there. Let me pause very quickly, see if there's any questions. Okay. Yes, just a moment. Somebody said hi to me. Hello, Chris. We could always talk a little bit later. I just can't do both right now, but I got a hi. I appreciate that. Thank you, Crystal. Coming back to our other thing, while we're here in settings, I believe something new I was just told, went ahead and was entered. And I'd like to just take a quick look at something here. And let's see. Okay, pardon me here. I'm looking for something here. So for our ophthalmologists out there, I was told that we added a whole bunch of new enhancements.
How are you?
Right, in terms of let me see something here. In terms of our medical note, and I just want to let people know, and I was just told that this was just released in the product, so I'd like to very quickly confirm this. This is on the fly, and here it is. So you may not be an ophthalmologist, but if you remember the ophthalmic, and I'm learning how to pronounce new words here, the ophthalmic section was maybe not as developed as would need be for a specialty clinic. And we went ahead and added a whole bunch of new fields. We worked with 4 of our clients, vision care for pets, South Texas, ophthalmology, EyeShine, and EyeShine Veterinary down in Arizona, and integrative ophthalmology from Los Angeles. And these 4 veterinarians, along with their staff, they gave us suggestions of how this should look. And so we added a whole bunch of new sections, right, based on their recommendations. And I mentioned this, and it's with drop downs and values in there. And we also added a diagnostics section in here, where right now, if you notice, this is something new too. We added a whole new diagnostics section where you're going to be able to, I think, get more information in the medical note, as you can see, with values and what have you. And I bring this up because with the work the ophthalmologist did with us, and this took about 6 weeks back and forth, engineering, is we can do this with, pretty much everything. It takes some time. But for those practices out there that would like to see some more enhancements in the medical notes, let us know. Send me an email and say, I'd like to see, these X, Y, and Z things in there. And then what happens is we'll work with you. We'll run it by some other doctors, and people say, hey, that looks good. Then we'll put it in the product. So this is now for ophthalmologists in here. And hopefully this is a feature that other general practitioners can use. And we're going to keep growing the diagnostics in here for not just ophthalmology, but all kinds of other tests. And then our goal is later in the year to show trending results for diagnostic tests also. So I'm going to pause here very quickly to see if there's any questions. South Texas, you're supposed to yell, yay, woohoo. That was a prompt. It's okay. And I'm just muting a couple people here because I'm picking up background noise. Sorry. And I got a couple chat questions. Okay, I got a woohoo. Somebody asked, how do I apply attention notes? I I'm not quite certain, Karen, what, and a woohoo, yay. I'm not quite certain what attention means. If you could elaborate, or at the very end, we'll just turn your mic on and you can ask me directly, and we'll make that happen. Okay, so that covers that. I like occasionally doing good news webinars. Now I'd like to come to the new record dialogue. And engineering left me with some egg on my face when a couple of weeks ago they said, hey, it's going to be in the product, better tell everyone. And so I sent out this important product update, and then they decided to pull it back for, testing. And I apologize for that. I'm always the last to know things. That's how life is, apparently. And also the last day or two, a thing gets released, and all of a sudden there were probably at least 5 or 6 little user interface UI bugs, but we went ahead and fixed those. And the goal with the new record dialog is to reduce the amount of clicks. It's as simple as that. So if I come here to history, and you can do this from the medical note or the patient record, right? And let's say we're doing this from the note. I always recommend the desired way to add charges. And I'm going to come here and say, notice it says no more new lab. And people were calling in saying, what happened to the lab? No, it's there. But there was no reason to have a button for new labs and a button for a new record or a charge. So it's simple as this. New record, you can add now any item from inventory. We also have clinics say, how come we can't assign lot numbers, maybe to to supply items. So the new record now allows you to add any item from inventory and to include any lot number. Before we limited it to just medical items, and then finally realized, who are we, right, to determine how you manage your practice. So any item with a lot number, any service item, anything can now be entered from a record, right? It could be a lab, right? I type in Antec, and I pull one of my Antec labs, and right now it's also, if you notice, it's going to default to where you are geographically, Antec East and West, right? And then of course it's going to list your Abaxis labs, and then other being, of course, that large company in Maine. But by the way, IDEX has, as an update, the paperwork's done finally. They've agreed to do the integration with us, but keep your fingers crossed. They pulled the rug out from under us 2 years ago, but this time we believe it's going to happen. And once that's in the product, this other will then mention that said company in Maine. And if you go ahead here, right, we can tie this now to any open diagnoses. Okay, we can include, right, actions in here if there were any that were attached, right? There aren't. We can include lot numbers now, and we go on from there. Now I hit save and add new. So again, any item, right, whether it's a lab or regular medical item or what have you. I can also add multiple items if I need to. Right? So sometimes you weren't able to do this before very easily. I can add multiple tests right up here. Boom, boom, boom. That easy to do. Okay. I can now, let's just say, I'm going to add a medical item. Boom. Right. It's going to show my lot numbers right here running at any given time. Again, Vetter does first in, first out. If you have any lots without assigned expiration dates, it will opt to those first because it assumes they need to come out first, but I can always change these on the fly, right? I can say, I don't want this one. I'd rather use this one. Entirely up to you. And its refill is listed on here in a much clearer fashion with instructions, also the ability to print multiple labels, okay? The drop-in attachments, all of these things are going to be there or are there now, just to make your life a little easier. And to let people know that being released next week, and yes, I've played with it in QA yesterday, so it'll be ready to go sometime next week, is a dosage calculator. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a little, like right over here where it says capsules. You'll see next week a little calculator here. And it's going to give you the dosage based on the animal's weight. And that's been a much asked for feature. Right now, we could use the Merck vet manual. That's our integration in the upper right of the screen. But now it makes it much easier. It'll be in the product right here. Okay. Let me pause and see if there are any questions about the new record dialog. Okay. I have a bunch of questions here. Okay, from Karen. Oh, how do I apply the attention notes, the ones that were in Homer Simpson's profile, i.e. hide the donuts? How do I apply them? Okay, you can change them. Okay, so South Texas answered. Thank you, you guys. I feel proud right now. Where you can change. So I see. The way the notes work is, in just a moment here, the notes work is either, in South Texas answered this, either from profile, pop-up, or, right, so let me get out of this really quickly. The notes either come as a pop-up or a profile. So let me jump to, let's say, Homer Simpson here. And the notes work, right, they're designed to pop up anytime the client and or patient appears in the software, whether it's on an invoice, on the scheduler, etc. And it's meant to provide valuable information, although some of this is just comical. Now, let's say or whimsical. Let's say the client is a pain in the rear, and you don't want, obviously, that to flash up on the screen. You might put something like this that says see profile, okay? And then you go to notes and hit view notes, right? And then we can say see profile, like this customer only prefers to speak with Kimberly, right? Or little things like this. So it's more discreet, right? So that's how the notes work there, the attention notes, okay? And I hope that answered people's questions. Now, I noticed there were more chats. Let me go ahead and look at those very quickly. I also have another question here. Will there be a feature where we can freeze a client's account? When we send clients to collections, the account continues to add late fees. After an account is submitted to a collections agency, legally we cannot collect more than the amount submitted. Also, we have clients that do not want to inactivate, but we do not want someone to schedule appointments for. And so, yes, we do have a feature, Chris. So let me show this to you. This might address your question here. There's a number of questions here. So let me pop in and show you very quickly under exempt from. On any client here, if you notice, if you want to exempt someone from late fees or other things, take a look where it says exempt from. And I can exempt them from account statements, taxes if they're a nonprofit, or late fees right here. And even though late fees are, they may have accumulated a bunch, like you said, once they go to collections, you can't legally add more. You can exempt them right here, okay? And, you could add multiple things there for somebody if you wish. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. We have some other questions. Oops. I did a stop share. Sorry. I'm back. Other questions on chat. We have noticed that when adding multiple items, as we often do for lab tests, the label will only print the first item, not the additional items. Will this be changed or fixed? Yes. Engineering told me, I specifically asked this, but well, I'm the last to know anything. They told me that this was going to be fixed today. So that will absolutely happen. I have a question from, and I will beat them with a wet noodle after this. Also got a question from iShine. One of our techs is asking, is there any way to have the diagnoses automatically go to the new medical note? So yes, and right, let me explain to you what's happening with the diagnoses, okay? And that was actually my next thing I was going to cover is, let me get out of Homer here. We added an enhancement with, sorry, let me just save Homer here. So if I come to here, right, and I add a, let's go to Santa's Little Helper here. And I believe Santa's Little Helper has some open diagnoses. No, he, yeah, has 17, poor little guy. And I create a new medical note, right? And I'm just going to grab the first one. I have default as acupuncture. And actually, I don't know whether I have a diagnosis section in this, if I put one in the acupuncture, but let me see. I don't, I apologize for this. Let me find a different note that I know has a diagnosis section in there. My apologies here. So answer your question about eye shine here. Let me go here, new record, medical note. Let me pick the basic soap. I hit save. And now the way we designed this is that the existing, as you see right here, the existing diagnoses, all that are open, and again, it's a demo accounts, our poor little guys, right, been beat up, all populate then in, right, the medical note. And, if you needed to, you could close them or delete them in the note. You can also do that from the patient side of things. Now, a feature we're adding is this will also have, right now, let me back up. Right now, this is only populating when you add the note from the patient profile. We're adding a feature very shortly so that when you check in a client with a medical note, which is ideally how it should work, the diagnoses will then also auto-populate across the medical note. Okay, so yes, it does do this. A more complete version of this is going to be available, right, very soon, where it auto-populates when you check in a client with a note. Okay. Now, on that, with one other thing is we also added another report with that to hopefully make more complete a diagnosis summary report, which have been asked for by a lot of clinics. So it's been really exciting to all these things suddenly coming out. And now we have not just client by patient, we have a clinic-wide diagnosis summary report, every diagnosis we've issued, plus then, right, breaking it down by patient, patient ID number, acuity, right, status, date, everything. So you may not have been aware of this report was just also recently added. And so now you have a much better grasp of what's happening in your clinic, and maybe depending on the area where you live, because of the environment, because of certain, maybe the water, who knows, parasites in the air, you can maybe start to begin to see if your patients are being afflicted more greatly by certain factors, right? And so this gives you, for the first time in Vetter, a larger kind of 30,000-foot view of what's going on in terms of the health of your patients, okay? So that covers diagnoses, and I'm going to jump right now to the last thing, reminders, but I have a few more questions, and let me see here. Yeah, okay. How large is the medical dictionary? We don't, okay, question from Heidi. We don't have a medical dictionary yet in Vetter. So yes, you have to add medical terms when creating medical notes. The medical notes are a free-form text field for you to add as much or as little as you need. Now, I have found this, I use the speech-to-text feature a lot when using the medical notes. And I have found this, that when I first started using the speech-to-text feature, certain words like amoxicillin, right? The software didn't know how to spell amoxicillin, and it would then, yield with a red line underneath indicating that it was misspelled. Well, I would then make a correction, and then the software started to learn rather quickly what was the correct spelling. And this was in terms of me using speech to text. I know that's not a complete solution, but I wanted to make you aware of that it will learn. And unfortunately, though, it's a free-form text, and that feature doesn't exist yet, that a medical dictionary. Also have a question here. Can engineers add GI to vitals for equine clients? Yes, this is it says from iPad, but I know you're a person. Would you send me, I'm taking a screenshot of this, would you send me an email about that, asking specifically what you'd like to see with choices of present, decreased, absent, and increased? Please send me that in an email, and we will get that, excuse me, we will get that into the product. And then I can work with you to kind of go over the UI and how it would best look. Yes, absolutely. But if you could send that to me in email, matt@vettersoftware.com. And then there's another question, an area on vitals or section exam for digital pulses and other hoof qualities. Yes, please send these to me, and we will work to get them in the product. I have another question. Occasionally, after adding a bundle into a client's invoice, we need to edit. Bundles include e-collar size, and previously, we could click on the item and retype and could easily change. But this week, we have to delete the item and re-add a different item. Huh. Yeah, you like that response, huh? Huh. That, I was unaware of that. That's a question from South Texas. So, as always, I'm taking a screenshot of these questions. And once I'm done, I will get on this with engineering and report back to all of you. Okay? Cool. Thank you. Now, the last thing to cover is the ability to add reminders for other items. And this is extremely valuable for, let's say, vaccine series, right? Before, right, especially if they had a DA-PPV, right, you were not able to, right, and let's say I give one and, every 4 months, and then, but I have to give the lepto after the 8th month, I have to give the lepto separately and as a separate reminder and, blah, blah, blah. Dogs are complicated, puppies are complicated, but you know what I mean. And that was a gap in our reminder functionality. Now, I'm just going to pull up DAPPV and show you. Now, this is a significant ad for us. So let's just say you were giving this, here it says 12 months. Let's say you're giving one every 4 months for puppies. And we come to here and we take a look at, let's say I do a new action. I can now create a reminder, right, for the same item or separate items. So let's just say, gosh, after 8 months, they need that lepto now. And I go ahead and it's probably not, you guys, I know I'm not a vet, so it's probably not the Leptovax 4, but you know what where I'm getting at here. And now I can say, God, I want that, the Leptovax is due, after I give that, the DAPPV, the Leptovax is due in another, it's due in a month later from now, right? And so I can go ahead and send my reminder out. And now anytime I administer the second, round of the DAPPV, it'll go ahead and send out a separate reminder. Another thing that you can do is, right, let's say it's in a series, right? Let's just say, and I know this from Dr. John because he's out in the high desert of Arizona, I believe. And I know, for example, like let's say rattlesnake vaccines. I think I might even have one in here because of Dr. John. Oh, there you go. And, you could use the inventory uses to say 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But, the dates at times range differently, right? There's different ranges of dates and everything. And if need be, let's say that rattlesnake vaccine required another vaccine on top of it, right? I can also, if needed to, right, create a reminder for that same item. Now, that's a rarer occurrence because you're probably going to use inventory uses, but we added the ability to do this for the same item, right? So you have the flexibility to set up your reminders as need be. Now, the last step of this functionality, just so everyone knows, the last step of this is to add this feature for inventory for the uses. So right now, right, for the uses itself, I can't create a reminder for another item. And we've already had people ask about this. So coming in June, it's going to take about a month. So remember, in June to engineers means June 30th. June to salespeople means June 1st. We all know how this is going to work out. But you will get you'll get the next part of the functionality. We'll be able to add reminders for other items from the uses themselves. So that'll enhance this functionality even more. And then later in the year, you'll be able to add separate pricing for inventory uses also. But right now, this should make people's lives much easier in terms of, right, vaccine series, especially the DAPPV ones. You know, and again, who knows, this rattlesnake vaccine, does that need right, after the first one, does that also require something else? Could possibly be, right? And maybe even want to have a checkup. Maybe this should even mean, hey, after the second one, gosh, I want you to come in for an exam, right? Because that's how I want to administer care to my patients. And, I just typing an exam, blindly here, and I want an exam 3 weeks later. Okay, so that's great. So I give that vaccine, and now that equals another default automatic reminder to hopefully make your lives a little easier there. Okay, I'm going to pause and see if have any questions. No, we seem to be doing well. Okay, I know we're butting up against the hour. The last thing I'm going to cover here is briefly review our extensions, because we have a lot now. So, quick background. Vetter, like all new startups in Silicon Valley, when they started up, we think we can build everything because, that's what folks in Silicon Valley believe. Silly, arrogant fools suffering from hubris. You're supposed to laugh with me on that. Okay. Well, we realized there's a better solution, and the solution is to build an ecosystem of the best partners available in the market, in the veterinary space, to provide you with the options that you need. So, example, some of these integrations, right, obvious, Abaxis, Heska, Antech, etc. But we've added a number of other ones. So just to give you a little clue here, animal reference pathology integration, they're located in Utah. They serve 400 clinics. They're a local lab. And they reached out to us and said, hey, can we do an integration with you? Because, there's like 14 vetter clinics. We built it. If some of you out there have local labs that you work with, and the people there, the local lab, and they have the technology, basically it means they have to have an engineer who builds an interface with Vetter, we're willing to build more of these. It doesn't affect us. I mean, in terms of it's very little engineering to build another integration outside lab, and we're always willing to expand. We've tried to do this with Marshfield, and Marshfield hasn't been technologically able to pull this off yet, but you get the idea. But some of the other ones here, Card Connect, right? We've had over 90 clinics sign up since the beginning of the year. Card Connect's done an analysis on the first 27 clinics they signed up, and they're saving an average of $109 a month from their previous card processor. Again, free to use within Vetter. Card Connect will meet or beat any price that you have from any other offer. They also allow you to email invoices that can be paid online. It allows you to use our wellness plan program. Again, this is one of these, I don't have any skin in the game. There's no commission, there's no fee or anything. It just makes the use of Vetter easier, so something to consider. We've also added these kind of reputation builder integrations. The industry leader is Ally DVM in this, and then backed up with Demand Force. These also do reminders, and they do client portals, right? But one of the big things is it does reputation building. It was the kind of program that says, hey, a client, somebody comes to your clinic, and then automatically an email is sent to them. Hey, how did you like your visit to High Desert Veterinary? We hope you enjoyed your experience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, on 1 to 5 scale. And if any client gave a 4 or 5, the programs then will email them back and say, hey, can we post your review, right, at Google Reviews, Yelp, Facebook, etc. And it builds your online profile. These are separate charges you negotiate with them. I facilitate this, but these are great tools in terms of reputation enhancement. Okay. The DICOM viewer and the boarding, these are set prices we just put up here, but everything's negotiable. And if you are interested in those modules, let us know. The DICOM, by the way, is an excellent feature. The next in line integration, this is an appointment scheduling app. And what they're great at next in line is filling spots. So if you are a busy clinic, especially if you have, let's say, vaccination day, and you've got people lined up for appointments, and somebody cancels on you, what it does, it literally then searches who's next in line, right, and informs them that a spot's open and will book it. And it's a very affordable integration. They do online scheduling, but really great at filling unused spots, so you're not losing revenue there. Patterson's eShelf integration does the same thing as DemandForce and Allied DVM, and we can point you to any one of these three if you're further interested. PawPrint is an app, a mobile app for your phone that does, that's a client portal. And it also does, appointment confirmations, texting, so people can actually text you back and say, you could say, like you get a text from your dentist. Tomorrow you have an appointment. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. You can do this with the integration. It uses someone's app, right? And it will then confirm the appointment in Vetter. Okay, and again, I can connect you with any of these people here. QuickBooks Online, of course, most of you are using. Two other ones here. Vetstoria is an online also booking application, and this is great for new business. So what happens is somebody moves into your area, they Google, veterinary care, and up comes your website, and they click on the website. Now, this is great for millennials. We know that millennials shop after hours. They want to do everything online. And what happens here is that they go to your website, they click book an appointment. Vetstoria, you don't even see it, sits between your website and Vetter, and then books the appointment. And if it's a new client, it enters all that information in Vetter. Very valuable feature. And the last one is VitusVet. VitusVet, like PawPrint, is a mobile app for your phone. These guys, I gotta say, this is a great application. It is client record, right? It's a client portal. It does reminders, and your client can click into that portal. They could see an x-ray. They could see any kind of information they need. They could even then share medical information, like let's say, hey, my dog's pregnant, and then, millennials, they'll want to post that on Instagram, right, or Facebook, and they can do that directly from the app, which just indirectly generates publicity for you. And this is, again, remember the difference. These two are mobile apps, so that your clients download them on their phone and then access your website, right, and then pulling information from Vetter. But if you're interested in any of these, right, they're videos in the customer community. I feature them, again, from time to time. But if you're interested in any of these, just let me know, and I will have my counterpart there reach out to you. Checking if there's any last questions. We got one here. Just a moment. Is ePet Health still supported? Yes, it is. Even though Vetter and Patterson no longer is a distribution partner for Vetter, we absolutely support it because we have 40 some odd or 50 some odd clinics, I think, using ePet. And ePet is actually kind of an independent company. It is an independent company. Patterson just distributes them. So we absolutely still support them. If you have any issues with them, like I said, with that, let us know, and we will address that accordingly. So I believe there's a long office hours, but I believe we've covered a lot. And again, I beg everybody's forgiveness again for the last few weeks. It's just been very trying for me on a personal level. And again, that's neither your concern, but I just wanted to share with you, we're all humans, and this is why I haven't been the most Johnny on the spot like I usually am. I've been kind of part-timing it at Vetter, and I appreciate everyone's understanding. And thank you again for your time. The video has been recorded, and I will now post it in the customer community. And I'll be reaching out to some of you shortly. The individual who asked me about the adding vitals, right, and other things for equine, please email those to me. South Texas, I took a screenshot about your question about bundles, and somebody else asked me about the multiple labs not printing. We will look into that, and I'll have support or me get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you again for everyone's time. Again, this is Matt with Vetter, and I wish you all a great rest of the day. Bye-bye. Oh, one last question before I go. Karen said, I noticed that the client's patients had pictures. Can we put our own pictures that we have taken? Absolutely. Just before I sign off, Karen, let me show you this. You just go to any client page, right? And here we go, or any patient page. And where it says upload photo, that's all you got to do. It pulls it off your desktop, only one photo at a time, and then you can put whatever you wish there. I hope that helps. Oop, another question. You guys are good at this. Thank you for the kind words, Karen. And you guys have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.